Yeah. I'll upload the previous video documentation about your term paper. So it's going to be uploaded later on, probably tomorrow. So let's talk about the content about security. Let's just open this one. Let's do a quick introduction to security. So let me just show you my. I'm going to post this one also in our group, so don't worry about taking notes. So let's talk about cybersecurity. I'm going to skip the introduction, right? Now, let's talk about security cases in Indonesia. This is not inclusive in Indonesia, but there are many other security cases. But this is just cases that I have documented. Actually, I have more documentation about security issues like the PDN. I have a video on that. I'll share the video on these issues or cases in our WhatsApp group. So this is an example of security cases. I guess this one is from 2 years ago. BSI from Bank BSI, one of the biggest bank in Indonesia, uh, they got ransomware. So what happened was that their servers got hit by ransomware, and that particular case, the ransomware was Lockbit. And now before the ransomware actually locked the system, they took many data, they downloaded many of the data, and then they kind of create a ransomware, so whereby they created kind of like announcement. They said, okay, send me certain amount of money. If you don't send us this amount of money, we're going to publish the data. So they took, okay, this is a sneak preview of the data. Please send us money. And at the same time, the bank could not operate because most of the servers are locked. So what happened was that the files are encrypted, and the password, they have the password, and they ask you to send the money for the password. So this is the current issues these days. Ransomware is very, very, very kind of annoying, right? These days, and they hit many parts of the world. Just not Indonesia only, but many parts of the world. So these are just example. And if you think about it, this was a big issue in Aceh because this is kind of the main banks there. So people cannot do transaction. Here's an example. Somebody could not do transaction because they cannot buy and sell coffee, right? So there are problems with the transaction, and they lost many milliar billion rupiah every day because they could not do the transaction. BCA, one of the biggest, again, one of the biggest bank in Indonesia, got hit, but this one was not confirmed, right? And other Mandiri Sekuritas, Dukcapil, and so on and so forth. But many data. Also, passport data breach and so on. So if you think about it, that's those examples are on the server side on the provider, but there were attacks also on the user side. So this is an example of particular case where the attackers actually sent WhatsApp messages. So they broadcast these WhatsApp messages, and it says, "Selamat siang kak, good afternoon. Is this Salamah? You have a package from GNT." Uh, but here is the photo of the package. But if you look at it, the file name is an APK file, which is an application for Android phones. If you click on this APK, and then the application will ask you to install this application. If you click on this OK, and if you allow it to be installed on your phone, then it's going to take over your phone. It can read your OTP or your WhatsApp chat and so on. So this is what we call a social engineering approach. Basically, they broadcast this. Well, in Indonesia and also in China, e-commerce is common, right? So this is common in Indonesia. Every day I got like packet, every day, every morning, nights, even now. Once they started this and people understood that, oh, okay, this was going to be like a fraud, like a scam, Now they changed this instead of packets. They said, okay, there is a wedding invitation. You have a wedding invitation. Feel free to see whether this is whether your name is correct or not. So if you click on it, the same thing, it's going to install the APK into your phone. Now this is a problem because when the attackers actually do not attack the servers, but they attack the users, and their targeted users who have no knowledge about this. This also happened in Thailand, by the way. I talked to some friends in Thailand. This is also a big problem there. The same thing as in Indonesia. Okay. And then in Indonesia, this is also a big, or maybe the biggest problem, or the bigger problem, second biggest problem is judi online gambling. So what happened was that the attackers found a website or a domain or a server that are easy to hack. So they installed this application on those servers. For example, government servers. They installed this online gambling, slot gachor, and so on and so forth. So when you join this, then basically this is kind of an online gambling. This was, and it is still a big issue in Indonesia. And I don't think it can be solved technically. It has to be solved through personal or human approach. Okay. So if you think about it, so these are examples of newer cases, and there are older cases. For example, this is one of the biggest banks in Indonesia, Bank Mandiri. At one point, um, your account changed. Like sometimes some people got more zeros, and some people got less zeros, and some people got their account reset into zero. So this was a big issue. This is an issue of integrity. One of my students actually came forward and told me, Pak Budi, my account was 500,000 rupiah was added to my account, and then I asked him, what did you do? I took it, Pak. So he took this 500,000 rupiah. This is an example. Saldo nasabah bank. Okay, 90% return the money. Maybe my student, that student, actually one of the 10% who kept the money. Yeah. So ransomware or malware is a big issue this day. It is still an issue, a big issue for the last, I guess, 3 to 5 years. Uh, this was a big thing in 2017. WannaCry. Before this, there was actually more ransomware attack or malware attacks, but at that time, not many people got affected. WannaCry was one of the biggest one. So when you open your computer, you cannot open your computer. There's a pop up in your computer, and it says, "Whoops, your files have been encrypted. So you have to pay Bitcoin to this address." And then if you send to that address, it will give you the password. Otherwise, it will not give you the password. Okay. Okay. So that was the example. Okay. There was a question. Which one is more important, sir? Strict regulation or user behavior and knowledge or technology? Because so many great company lost their data. Okay. So yeah, it cannot be handled only by technology because sometimes the biggest or the weakest link is human. So the human aspect. So we have to do some kind of awareness for the whole users, and then also the users, and also within the company. So one of my job is actually to do awareness in many companies. Usually, I go to companies and make presentations. Sometimes to the board of directors, the top level, and then to the directors, and then the managers, and then even the users. Even I usually give regular presentations for at least two companies that they have company retreats or retreat every year. So I usually become one of the presenter in that company retreat. So I talk more about like how important is password, why changing password is important, why you have to clean desk and clean screen in your office. If you leave your desktop, lock it or log out, why it is important, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so it has to be like a complete package. It cannot be, you cannot just teach users, but you cannot also implement, say, firewall. Later on, we'll see that there are many things that we have to do. Okay, so this is part of this lecture is part of awareness to you, so that you know that security is important. Okay, yeah. See, if you have more questions, keep coming. Put it in the chat. Okay, so that's the answer. And then here's another example. Here's another example of Java. A long time ago, we thought that Java is very good, less security because of the design of the language. But this one is in 2021, 4 years ago. Now, if you are a software developer and you are using Java, for example, as the main language, then you're going to use libraries, right? You're going to use libraries A, B, C, and so on. So instead of writing your own libraries or your own functions, all you have to do is just pull the libraries that's already there. Just like when what we are doing in Python, right? We're using modules instead of writing our functions. Just use ready to use modules. So this is the same thing. In Java, there is a module to do logging. So if you have a application and the application wants to write something into the log file, for example, user ABC log at this time, transaction this happened at this time, and so on and so forth. You can use this library called log4j. Log4j is a common library for Java. But apparently, there was a problem in Log4j about 3 years ago. What happened is you can access application that were using Log4j. So if there is an application and the application use Log4j, and you can access that application and you can execute commands on your server. So this was kind of scary because people can access your computer and even can put ransomware and malware. Now the problem is if you don't have your own development team, you think that I don't develop my own applications, I don't have this, but you are buying a product, say for example, say your product is VMware, for example, and VMware was written in Java, part of it, and it uses Log4j. So the old version of VMware had this problem. So if your infrastructure based on VMware, then you have to be careful because this also happened to you. And the reason it is so dangerous because as an extension of that problem, people wrote additional script on top of that so they can exploit that and they can install applications on your system. And one of the applications, quote unquote application that they install is ransomware. So remember the BSI, the problem was in Lockbit ransomware, but this one is a bit different. Uh, there was an attacker, and then the Conti ransomware was installed in many system that uses Log4j. So it was kind of a big thing because many companies are using Java. Okay. Now, if you think that attack coming from one machine is already, a problem, then you see that you can get attacked from many computers. So this is an example of attacks from many computers. The real attacker somewhere here, he was behind a computer, and this computer that he uses actually is sending requests to other computers. So what happened, he took over these computers, maybe your personal desktop, maybe Satpam's desktop, maybe an accounting desktop, maybe I don't know, some poor users desktop. Basically there's nothing in the desktop, but the desktop can be controlled from the remote by the attackers. So he has an army of robots. We call it botnet because we can control this machine, and this machine can do whatever the attackers ask it to do. For example, send a ping packet. For example, just ping to the target. For example, it will send a packet to your server. If it's done by one machine, it is fine. Ask for website, give it again. Ask website, give it again. Like one, two, three. So it will ask. It will try to access your website, for example, right? Web server, get access web server, access web server, access web server, access web server, and so on. So it keeps on asking for the page from web server. If it's done by one machine, that is fine. But if you have, say, 10,000 machines doing that to your computer or your server, then you're going to see a spike in your network. So what they are doing is they're flooding your servers or your computers with a large amount of requests. And then it depends on your computer or your servers or your network. It is going to be difficult to tame this attack. Uh, it's even worse if the bandwidth of this, the total bandwidth, is greater than yours. For example, the biggest attacker at one point, the bandwidth was 1 terabyte. The bandwidth was 1 terabyte. My house, when the bandwidth is only 100 megabytes, so it's very 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 far from 1 terabyte, right? So if I have request 1 terabyte request, then basically I can't do nothing. So this is a problem with DOS attack. Okay, and it's still happening these days. I can show you later on if you want. Maybe I'll show you, but I'm going to stop this, right? I'm going to stop the record. Okay, we continue, right? Okay. So that is example. If you have more, if you have questions, feel free to drop in the chat. Okay. So that's just an example of what we are doing if we want to do a DOS attack. And DOS attack is one of the biggest problem these days, and it is very very difficult to protect us from this DOS attack. Okay. Now, with AI, what can we do? Now, with if you see many application these days are using eKYC, yeah, electronic know your customer to identify the user. Say, for example, in many applications these days, at least in Indonesia, you have to take a picture of yourself with a KTP in your hand, like Jorgin KTP in your hand, and then take a picture. But that's not secure. I'll show you how, but this is just a go through, and I'm going to stop this one again. Let me just stop the recording again.